Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have with us Katrin, who is a connection of mine through Twitter. And I wanted to take a moment today to introduce her to everyone that's listening, just so you could get to know her a little bit more and find out, what she's been up to and why it's so exciting. So with that, Katrin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Brianne, and hello, everyone. My name is Katrin. I am living in the UK at the moment, originally from Germany, so calling in here in the afternoon. I am currently working in a company being a training manager. I have been doing that for about the last 3 to 4 years, and I'm actually deciding at the moment to become self-employed, starting my own business as well, which is quite exciting. And I'm very excited to hopefully talk a little bit more about that today.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us about you up to the moment that you decided to leave your corporate job and start your own business. So kind of what was your journey to get there?
Sure. The thinking kind of started in the beginning of the year, so around January. I was, to be frank, I was just unhappy with things, with the way things were. I've been working in the same job in the same tasks for quite a while, as mentioned, and nothing seemed to be changing. I've been passed around between departments and managers as well, which was another thing on top of, okay, I need to change something. And in my thinking, I could have obviously just gone to another corporate job, to another full-time employment position, but I wasn't happy with that anymore. I've met a few people myself online and that I've been working with that actually took that leap and took the jump into self-employment, which is always a bit scary, but I think it's a chance I want to take, working for myself, hopefully being successful, working with as many people as I can really. So yeah, that's exciting. It took me a few months to actually really think about and take that chance, and I'm going to start on that journey in about 4 weeks' time. So it took me about 10 months to, to actually get to the point of getting started.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And so you were a trainer in your corporate life,
Yes.
training manager. So what will you be doing in your new business?
In my new business, I'm going to build on the experience. I'm still going to do probably delivering a few workshops, maybe putting together training content and materials, etc. But the main aim I actually really have is helping other businesses, consulting on their training strategies. So a lot of the times, and I know that from our clients and the previous company, training is done in a classroom, so people get pulled away from their desks. They sit in a classroom for a day or maybe even longer. And the way I look at it, or looking forward for the future of training and work, is self-directed learning. So hopefully I will be able to work with other companies to figure out how or what the best way is for their employees to actually learn as well and thrive, which means it will help with employee retention and hopefully happiness as well.
Yeah, definitely. And so what is it about training, working with other businesses on their, training strategies that really gets you excited?
Helping other people. It's mainly about the employees, I would say, because they are the ones that thrive your business. They are the ones that are the culture of the company. So a company could have a really good strategy, and then they could have the best training provider or content in the world. But if employees are not happy, if they don't get the time to actually learn new things, if they don't thrive themselves and actually get authority over how they learn and when they learn, they will probably be unhappy. If you don't provide that help for employees, so I do want to help employees feel a little bit happier than I was in my last job as well.
Yeah, that's so important. You work for, and you, I mean the collective you, work for so many companies that the company's doing great, or and then all of a sudden they're not doing great, and then they
Yeah.
have to look at what is the cause of the problem, and a lot of the times it is their employees' happiness and their employees' satisfaction with their work. And you're right, training can often really influence how employees feel about themselves in their daily work and with the company in general. So that's really, really important. So is there a specific industry that you're working in, or do you kind of work with clients in any industry?
I am looking to branch out a little bit, I think. So I wouldn't really restrict myself to any industry. The industry I'm coming from is a bit of a customer service, but also quite recently the previous company is involved in ethical trading. So things we were looking at things such as human rights, child labor, modern slavery. So that's another topic that really interests me, and probably also the charity industry. So going into that, there's a lot of charities out there, and I think that they're doing a brilliant job. But I also believe that these are very important companies to actually put their employees through a really good training as well.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, companies like that, they could be influencing a lot in the larger world culture. So to have employees that feel satisfied and really are speaking the company, the company or the charity's mission, that's so important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some topics that you have seen come up that people are really seeking out for training?
I think the self-directed learning, definitely, or another term for it could be social learning, where, well, we in the working world we are all adults, or at least you'd hope that everyone is an adult, as I mentioned child labor before. But yeah, with adults particularly, I mean, we don't really want to be told all the time what to do and when to do it and how to do it. And with training, that's a big part, because we already get told a lot of other things at work, or there's this deadline you have to adhere to, you have this meeting at that time. With training, it's more they should have access to all of the content, access 24/7. So technology is always a big thing. Languages, for example, as well, for bigger companies where they have employees all around the world. But really having that self-directed learning where someone can take out 10 minutes out of their day, which is dedicated to learning, and they don't get disrupted, and the company actually gives them that time as well.
You're so right about that. Also, I mean, the thing that I see that's most important is what you talked about. You know, like you said, not everyone, but hopefully the majority of the people that are in the working world are adults,
Yeah.
and act like adults.
Yeah.
And for them to do self-directed learning, that's kind of like their own journey into what they're interested in, and whatever is so important, just for self-development, motivation, just feeling good about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that in addition to that, what you talked about, social learning, learning from other people,
Yeah.
whether that's a skill or just knowledge or whatever, that's really important too. So yeah, that's awesome. I was going to ask you another question along that line, and I don't remember what it is. So we'll just forget it, and if it comes back to me, then it comes back to me.
That's all right.
So you do
Going
some
back,
work.
sorry. Oh,
No, go ahead.
sorry. No, I'm just going back to when you mentioned the social learning again. You're absolutely right. It's learning from others a lot as well, which it does help others to teach others also. So that's a good way of learning, is trying to explain to someone else about a topic, etc. So yeah, thanks for picking that up. Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, and an area that I have been working on in general is coaching and mentoring other people,
Yeah.
and just as a personal skill, you see so many people, whether that's junior members of your team or people in different areas that maybe they have some interest in doing some sort of training or something, and perfecting that skill of working with the people, to create create a really solid relationship and help them understand and give them a little glimpse of your world. I feel like that is so important. And I'll tell you, for me, so much of what I do today, I've learned from other people. It didn't come from going to college for it or, something like that. So for
Yeah,
me, that's so important. That's the reason that I do these podcasts. That's the reason I have done like the summit this past year, is just because I feel like, learning from other people is so important, and sometimes the best learning that you can get. So
that's very true. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that the podcast itself is such a good idea. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely right. It's not just about reading and then talking, but sometimes, yeah, just listening to some people talk is just, yeah, really good
And
way of learning.
yeah, and so many people, I'll meet them online or something, and they'll say to me, "Oh, but I'm just kind of normal. I just have a 9 to 5 job. I don't have any special story. I didn't have come overcome this huge thing to get where I am today or anything." But what I find is often those people have the best stories,
Yeah,
just through conversation, something that they've picked up on and then maybe they didn't realize it was important, or some relationship they've built, or, something. So, you know, I would encourage anyone who's listening, and, I think you and I had this conversation a little bit before, just put yourself out there, just,
yeah,
and talk. You'd be surprised what comes out of it.
that is so
So,
true.
yeah. So what are, you're moving from corporate world, starting your own business. What are some things that you're excited about? What are some things that you are, nervous about? For a lot of people, to leave the corporate world is something that's really stable and consistent, and reliable, and that every week there's going to be a paycheck and
Yeah.
everything. Moving from the corporate world to that bigger risk factor is really scary, and a lot of people won't do it. So for you, how are you how are you managing that? How do what are the things that you're nervous about? What kind of what are your plans, and give us a little bit of that feeling.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of things on both sides. I'm very excited and nervous at the same time. So it's a good point to pick up on. I am very excited to actually be doing my own thing, working for myself, and hopefully working on a lot of different really exciting projects, and instead of just working for the one company, and hopefully reaching a lot more people with what I'm doing. Nervous, yeah, I'm obviously very nervous about money. Will I get enough clients? And even if I do have a couple of clients for a few months, what happens after? So talking to other freelancers or self-employed people in the past, they did say this just comes with the job. The fear will probably, even after a few years, never go away of where will I get my next clients from. Um, but yeah, that's something I need to live with. I need to see and try how it all works. The other thing which I kind of realized yesterday, I attended a business workshop. Yeah, so I realized that the other thing will probably be holding myself accountable, which will be quite hard because at the moment I'm still in a time where I'm still working, and there's a few savings I have, etc. So nothing is real yet. But once I'm really starting out, I need to hold myself accountable of doing what I need to do, and delivering what I need to deliver, and then making that money that I need to pay my bills, really. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that for me, that's the biggest thing, doing consulting work, is I feel like, for example, my husband runs his own construction company,
Oh, nice.
and there and there's tools out there for him to get his next job, like online services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are people who are actively, individuals who have own homes and need stuff done. But my biggest thing is when you are working more on something like training, or web development, or whatever, and you're serving more of a corporate client, getting that job is not as easy.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, well, there's, of course, there's stuff like Upwork and, stuff like that, but there's a million people on there.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, that's my biggest thing is like, I feel like I've always been lucky in that just when something's running out, something comes through, you know what I mean? But, that's my biggest thing. Like, how do you find these new opportunities? How do you get yourself out there? How do you get in front of that person at the company who's going to make the decision on whether they should hire your company? So I can definitely appreciate how you're feeling. Well, we're getting to the end of our time.
Okay.
So I want to ask you, if there are people listening that have been really inspired by your story, or have some of the same feelings that we do, what advice would you give to them? What's one thing that you would say, you need to hear this?
Oh God, that's hard. I think it's believe in yourself, really. If you want to do so, and I know that's always cheesy, but if you do want to do it, if you set your mind to it, believe in yourself and have a support system. I think that's the main thing, very important. Have someone who definitely will support you either emotionally, I'm not saying financially, because that's probably not something that any or most of us have, but someone who will listen to you, who will support you in any ideas that you're having, and also holds you a little bit accountable to what you're doing. The kind of the thing that I said before, you have to hold yourself accountable to whatever you're doing, but also what you said. People always think, oh, I'm normal. I probably don't really have a lot of interesting things. Everyone has something that they're really good at, and I think, if you just start believing and have someone who also believes in you, that would be a really good beginning.
Yeah, I can agree with you more. And in fact, it kind of goes back to the conversation we had earlier about, coaching and mentoring other people. I think we, especially as, as business owners, consultants, we need to find mentors too. And like you said, someone that's there to encourage us, point us in a different direction, people who can see the things that we can't see in our, one-man shops. So yeah, that's very important. So thank you so much for joining us today. For everyone who's listening, make sure that you check out Katrin's information below the podcast, so you can reach out to her and connect with her individually. And thank you again, Katrin, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.